Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua. It is promptly 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on our Wednesday. Welcome. Before we get started on our topic, we're here to talk about recurring accounting transactions today. Before we get started on that, for those of you that have heard this spiel before, please forgive me. For the benefit of those who are joining us for the first time, we do have to kind of go through a couple technical things. If you have you'll see the little red arrow on the right side of on the left side of your sidebar there of your control panel. You can use that to minimize the webinar control panel. Or if you've got a dual monitor set up, you can just drag that control panel over to your second desktop just to get it out of the way. Allows us to see exactly what's going on in the event. With that being said, the event, we are recording today's webinar event, and we will be posting this on our website here between now and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I do like to point out, though, that we already do have a whole lot of information under the Church Windows Support Center here. If we go to churchwindows.com and Support Center, if I click on Support Center, it takes us to our Support Center page. And then here, like I know we already have one out here for last year's recurring transactions. It covers the same thing. We're just doing this in the current version versus the prior year version. So if under our search for I type in the keyword recurring, it shows up, brings up our Church Windows version 18 accounting recurring transactions. Frankly, folks, this topic hasn't changed this part of the software hasn't changed in years. It's probably the same exact thing. It was probably even me conducting it. You already have information there on that. But we will be putting this one up here based on the new version. We're going to be working together exclusively till 20 minutes after. I will stop wherever I am, and then I will do my best to answer folks' questions. If you have those, please type those in the questions portion of the control panel for me. Please try to keep those topical, meaning about our recurring transactions topic. If our support staff are available, certainly after the webinar concludes, if you do have questions about other portions of Church Windows. Finally, we are now trying to do many of our webinars in conjunction with our Church Windows training workbooks. Today's webinar is no exception. So we're going to be working with A202 today, pages 8 through 14. That's where we have recurring transactions in that workbook. Please visit the Church Windows website if you're interested in the workbooks. They are very helpful, and certainly you can always purchase them there as well if you wish. All right, so let's go into accounting. So in essence, recurring transactions are transactions that you set up that can be saved, that are saved and can be reused as needed over and over and over again. Okay? The other thing I'd like to make right away very clear about this is recurring transactions sort of implies that Church Windows is doing something automatically for you. Let's dispel with that right away. Church Windows does nothing automatically. So based on you setting up the recurring transaction, nothing gets posted in the software until you go in, choose the recurring transaction, and post it. It is just a setup or a structure of accounts, amounts perhaps in many cases, that basically you'll just reselect and it will save you time to get those transactions entered and subsequently posted. Okay? You can even batch them into regular bill batches or transaction batches if you post recurring transactions, for several vendors or several, transactions each month. The types of transactions where you can set up recurring are enter income. Let me introduce my highlighter friend here. So we've got enter income. You can set them up under enter bills. We can also set them up under other here, under journal entry transactions, and up here at the top labeled transfer. So those are the 4 different transaction types where we can set up recurring transactions. Okay? Not everything. So payments can't be set up to be recurring. Also, donations is a separate transaction, and payroll. Those are different transactions. These are the only 4 in accounting that we can set up and use. Okay? So, they don't pop up automatically. They don't show up. They're just simply a list of transactions where you can access them each and every month. So let's go into Enter Bills. This is the one that I commonly use. And right up here in the upper right-hand corner of our Enter Bills window, we see the button called Recurring Transactions right there. Okay? That is where those recurring bill transactions can be found. So when we click on Recurring Transactions, it opens up our Recurring Bill Transactions screen where it shows we already do have our quarterly water bill set up. Okay? But if you're setting these up for the very first time, this list will be blank, most likely. We certainly wouldn't set something up, so somebody else and a prior user may have, but Church Windows wouldn't set these up. So we notice here in the upper left-hand corner, we've got our Create New, we've got our Edit selected and Delete selected, and we'll come back to those other buttons here soon. So when you're wanting to set up a recurring transaction, you're going to simply click Create New. It then opens up our Create a Bill Recurring Transaction. So we're going to call this Electric Bill. And then frequency we'll put in as monthly. Then we'll tab down and we'll choose, AEP, American Electric Power. I think I have it. There it is. I can enter transaction comments if there are regular comments I wish to post over. Then under my expense account, I can type in and choose, there's my electric. I can even enter a multi-lined expense bill here as well. So if I've got, like in this case, I've got a rental property, I can have it so, since I'm paying my rental electric each and every time as well, as part of my the church's electric bill, I can pay those simultaneously, all as part of one bill. Okay? Now, if you do have a regular payment amount, you can enter the amount here. Okay? But in this case, because it's our electric bill, maybe unless we're on our, like a budget plan or something where the amount is the same each month, all I need to do is plug in a penny, a dime, or a dollar in here, and I'll show you why that's the case. Okay? So then I would simply click Save Transactions, and it adds it to my list of recurring bills. So let's go through that one more time. Add, Create New. We're going to call this one Gas Bill. We're going to, again, enter monthly, and we'll choose Columbia Gas. Again, I can enter comments. It's similar to my other ones. I have a regular gas bill, which would be for the church gas. And then again, I can also enter a multi-line bill for, say, my rental electric or my rental gas as well. Let's try that one differently. There we go. Okay. So then we're going to click on Save Transactions again. Okay. Again, description is simply a description of the bill, just helps you understand what it is you're paying. Frequency just determines how often the payer tells us how often the bill is paid in this case. Vendor payee is always going to be the vendor or payee who you're posting the payment to or the bill to each month. Comments, both line item and transaction comments, are basically comments you can enter about the bill. Comments, I guess there would be needs from those from time to time to enter those, but I might also just enter those on an as-need basis after I paste the transaction over. Amount could certainly be amount, or in this case I'm entering $1 here. And then, of course, the save transactions to actually save that transaction. Okay? Nothing too terribly difficult. The frequency probably becomes more understandable here in terms of that when we're looking at our recurring categories for bills or for transactions right here. And that's what we're going to talk about now at the bottom of page 9. So we can categorize these bills, in this case, to ones where we pay them regularly. So we write down here at the bottom, we see the option called Edit Categories. Well, we notice also next to our bills that they aren't categorized. Right here under Category, uncategorized. Okay? So let's say I do. So I always pay my bills each and every month at the same time, my utilities. So we're going to come down to this Edit Categories, and we're going to create a new description here called Monthly Utilities. If I could type today. And then we simply click Add. Then I can create as many of these groupings as I wish. If you've got a lot of things, your recurring transactions you're creating and using every month, I would definitely use categories where, when, and wherever possible. So here now, I've got my categories set up. Down here it says Select Rows by Category. So let's say I want to put my electric and my water bill into my monthly utilities. I would simply click in the uncategorized or the category and choose monthly utilities. Okay. So let's say it comes to the time when I'm ready now to pay those monthly utilities. I would simply click the select rows by category, choose the category I'm wanting, in this case monthly utilities, check that and click OK. And notice it now selects those recurring bills for me to now then paste over to my bills ready to use. So now I simply click the paste button in the upper right hand corner, and that then takes me back to my unposted bills batch where I can now manipulate or change anything I wish about these. So I go, oh yeah, well I've got to enter the amounts for those. So I can simply double click on it and it now moves it up to the top, and I can go ahead and enter my, amounts that I want for each one of these particular expenses. I can enter comments over here if I wish, and I can even edit the date, of course. And then when I'm ready, I simply click Done Add to Batch, or I can highlight the one at the bottom and click Edit, and it moves it back up to the top for me to edit again and make changes to, whether it's the date. But in any case, I've chosen the same vendor and the same expense accounts each time. What I've done is really help minimize my mistakes, essentially. Okay? Again, so if you've got lots of bills that you pay on the same day, or not even on the same day, that you pay each and every month, folks, those recurring transactions can help speed up the process, and they can also help you minimize mistakes. Okay? So if I don't choose to use categories, let's go ahead and just enter an arbitrary amount here and we'll click on Add to Batch. And then we'll go back up and we'll go, oh, well, it is our water bill. We forgot we had that. So I can click under Recurring Transactions again. I can just simply always just highlight one of them and simply click Paste, and it just now puts it back over under my Unposted Bills batch. Okay, that's using the recurring transaction. And they all function exactly the same way, folks. Whether it's journal entries or enter income or enter bills, transfers, once you get them over into the batch, you just either double click on it or edit it, click edit to move it back up to the top to manipulate the transaction if you wish or if you need to. Okay? There's nothing terribly challenging about this. So yep, we're going to double click our big city utilities, and we're going to type in our monthly water bill or quarterly water bill. And again, I can edit the date if I want for that one single transaction, click Done Add to Batch. And I've done that. I've just now entered those bills, and I can now do post and pay or just post if I wish. Okay? Nothing terribly too complicated about it, but it certainly could be something that could save you a fair amount of time, again, on those regular monthly bills. Okay? I talked to a lot of folks who were completely unaware of this feature in the software. And they add it, and it takes off literally hours off their day in terms of recurring that and minimizes their mistakes. So once I click Post, I'm going to decline the print the reports. If I go back up to recurring, notice now it does have a last post date. So it does recall the last date that I posted my recurring transaction. So again, what that does is it helps me minimize perhaps double posting. I come in and I go, well, I've already got these posted for April. I wonder what those are there. Then I would go into my transactions and look at that and see if those bills were there. And of course, I would find them that they were there. Okay? So page 11 on our workbooks talks about the selecting a category of transactions, again, by creating it, going down and choosing the appropriate category, clicking OK, and again, recognizing that they are already pre-selected and using the paste button to get those over into your bills batch. So page 12 now then talks about editing a recurring transaction. So let's say maybe my expense accounts change or my vendor account changes or something. So I could simply highlight, one of the transactions I'm wanting to edit, and I simply go up to my Edit Selected button up here in the upper left where we were. I said I would come back to that right there. And then we click Edit Selected, and it opens up my Create a Bill Recurring Transaction for my water bill, where I can then make my desired changes. Okay, whether it's the payee or the frequency or the comments, anything I want about the setup or structure of this recurring transaction can be edited. Oh yeah, we've taken on the water bill for our rental property as well. Yeah, assuming I've added that expense to my chart of accounts, I could add another expense to this account if I wish. Okay. So again, this would be where I would make a permanent change to the recurring transaction. Again, just be aware that if I go and I highlight a transaction and click paste and I put it over into my enter bills, I can also edit it here. So if I just simply double click on Columbia Gas, I can go, oh, well, I need to change the expense account this one time for this 1 month. I don't have to change the recurring transaction setup. I can just click right here and change that expense account right here. Okay, so that would be how I would edit it after I posted it over to my transaction screen. If I was wanting to make a permanent change to it, is where I would go into recurring, highlight it, and click Edit Selected at the top left. Okay? And that would be the editing the recurring transaction before pasting it over, as opposed to editing it after pasting it over. Okay? And finally, if you no longer need recurring transactions, they can be removed. It doesn't delete any of the previous transactions that you posted before historically. All you're saying is, I don't need this. I'm not going to be posting this recurring transaction any longer. So you would simply highlight it, click the delete selected. It'll say, has been used for bills in the past for water bill. Are you sure you want to delete this item? I know that kind of comes across as a scary message, but it's not. You can always go, oh, I did need the recurring. You can just add it back. Again, it doesn't remove or delete any transactions which have been posted to the respective accounts. So I would simply click yes, and that one's now gone from my recurring transactions list. So just as a reminder, under other here, journal entry transactions, you do have to choose a date, but then I go up to recurring here, and we've got recurring journal entry transactions. You can set up for any of those four: enter bills, enter income, transfer, or journal entries can all have recurring transactions if necessary. Okay? These recurring transactions can be very helpful, helping certainly and again in minimizing mistakes and speeding up your transaction posting processes. Okay? All right, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes here left, folks. I'm done with my topic here. Again, we hope that you'll find this helpful. Maybe you'll revisit this movie with your workbook once the video's out on our website. But let me see what questions we've got here. Are you considering a reminder for recurring transactions? That's a great suggestion. Yep, that's Robert. That's a great idea. Please send that in with your customer number to support@churchwindows.com. We'll be happy to get that into suggestions, our suggestions database for you. But again, please let us know which church you represent when you do send that in. What is the number of the workbook? That's a great question, Dawn. It's A202 in the current workbook, pages 8 to 14. Very good. Thank you for asking that. Yes, A202, pages 8 to 14. It's what I'm using as the guide for the webinar event today, folks. Okay. All right, let me see if there's any other questions coming in. Maybe those do sometimes take a minute for folks to type in there, but I'm not seeing anything coming in. I'll give you another few seconds here to see if anybody's typing something in there. Oh yeah, Kathy, that's great too. Yeah, recurring for accounts receivable. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Yes, but some of our 90-80% of our customers don't own accounts receivable, but sure, under accounts receivable, under invoice accounts receivable, you do have recurring transactions too. For those percentages of our users that do have accounts receivable, you can set up definitely recurring invoice transactions, though I'm pretty sure we can't do recurring collected transactions. Yeah, so much like payments, recurring collections can't be recorded, only invoices. Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out. Are acknowledgments sent when suggestions are accepted and put into your database? I don't recall getting one on my last suggestion. No, Paul, we don't. We don't send those out. We simply do add them into our suggestions database with the church's customer number. Certainly if you'd like to contact us, we're certainly happy to confirm that it is in there for you. But yeah, no, we don't send those out. yeah, again, by all means, send those into the support email saying that you'd like to receive a confirmation of your suggestion. Yeah, I mean, it is just it would be an email confirming it, basically, but it's just a database that's inaccessible, so it would be our word still verifying you. We do add those, though. I do. All right, well, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, and it looks like folks are kind of diving out here pretty quickly. So I'll go ahead and end the webinar for everyone. We hope you will continue to attend our webinar events. And again, look for a recording of this event on our website sometime between now and the end of the week. All right, we hope it's been helpful, folks. We'll look forward to hearing from you. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.